Hi, today I'm going to answer two of the most common questions I get as a family lawyer. The first being, what is a family report? And the second is, how do I get a good one? And today I'm going to give you 5 simple tips that you can follow to get the most out of your family report interviews. So the first question is, what is a family report? Well, basically a family report consists of a consultant who is usually an employee of the court, but there are opportunities to have them done privately in some registries. And that consultant interviews you and all of the significant others in your life, everyone involved in the children's life on a day-to-day basis, and a report is generated back to the judge. That report can be varying in length, but is typically between 20 or 30 pages long. The report will make certain observations of the interview process about what you have said and what you have done and how you have behaved, make observations about the relationship that you might have with your child and that other members of your family may have with that child, and will then make recommendations back to the judge as to what orders might be appropriate in your circumstances. The report is not binding on the judge, but they are normally very persuasive. So it's really important that you get the best family report that you possibly can for your set of circumstances. Stay tuned, and I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to achieve that. Step number 1 in getting a positive family report is to make a good first impression during the interview process. And this really comes down to 3 things. The first is the standard of dress, the second is your body language, and the third is the way you conduct yourself during the process. So firstly, when it comes to dressing for the occasion, dress as you would for a job interview, or dress as you might if you were actually attending a normal court event in front of a judge. Don't turn up in singlet, board shorts and thongs. Dress respectfully and show the report writer that you have respect for the process. When it comes to body language, be open. That will signify that you're being honest and that you're not being guarded and deceitful. Speak in a way that shows you are engaging in the process truthfully, honestly and openly. Lastly, when it comes to conduct, make sure you act appropriately at all times. You are going to be on show from the time you arrive at court all the way until the time you leave court, not just for the interview process itself. So it's highly likely that you might cross paths with either your ex-partner, the other parent of the child, or perhaps even their new partner. The last thing you want to do is engage in some sort of argument or create a problem outside of the interview rooms with your ex. Always be polite to them, say hello, if you can, be courteous, and don't do anything that could jeopardise the interviewer's opinion of you as a cooperative co-parent. My second tip for getting a good family report is to perform an accusation audit. Sit down somewhere quietly where you have some time and go through the other parent's affidavit and notice of risk. Have a think about all of the negative things they have said about you, all of the worst things that they have alleged you have done, or perhaps things that they might say to the report writer that you have done, and then carefully consider each one. It might be that some of them are admitted, that you did do those things, in which case you need to very carefully consider how you are going to respond to questions. It would be helpful, for example, if you could show some level of insight or remorse into that poor conduct. On the other hand, you might consider that the allegations are false, in which case you need to carefully consider how you're going to respond to any interview questions about that. You will want to make sure that your denial is consistent with the material that you have previously filed in the proceedings. So think very carefully and do an accusation audit before the interview. My third tip for getting a good family report is to think strategically. It's not a mudslinging contest. You need to make sure that the comments and answers you give to interview questions are consistent with the orders that you are asking the court to make. For example, if you're seeking an order for equal shared parental responsibility, the inference is that you're able to communicate with the other parent. So it would not be appropriate or helpful in your case during the family report interview process to make allegations against the other parent that make it look like you can't communicate effectively. That's certainly going to be counterproductive in the long run. So think strategically and keep your eye on the long-term objective. My fourth tip in getting a good family report is to ensure compliance with the orders. By the time you get to your family report interviews, the judge has likely made several sets of orders in your matter. And they might be relating to procedural matters, or there might be substantive parenting orders dealing with how the children spend time with the other parent. Whatever the case is, make sure that you have done everything possible to comply with the spirit of those orders. Even if you haven't been ordered to do something, you might find once the family report has been released that there's recommendations for you to do certain things, such as attend a post-separation parenting course. Use your initiative and follow those recommendations. And when you attend court for your hearing, you'll get extra brownie points for having done them. The fifth and final tip to getting a good family report is to invest time in preparation. Find a quiet corner, sit down and read through all of the materials that have been filed in your case. Read every affidavit at least twice, not just the other side's but yours also, because you need to make sure that every answer you give during your family report interview is consistent with the evidence that you've already filed to date. Have a think about the type of questions that are going to be asked of you, and in thinking about that, you should have regard to Section 60cc of the Family Law Act. Section 60cc deals with how a court determines what is in a child's best interest, and the subsections of Section 60cc are likely to be the subheadings of the family report itself. So definitely check that section out. I'm Dean Bainbridge.